So I have here a locomotive that a customer sent in for repair. They'd caught the conrod and managed to bend it, so I've straightened it out and reattached it. There was a crank pin missing. So while I was testing it, I noticed that the running was a bit odd. It's DCC sound. It's quite juddery, and then when you slow down, it kicks. There are delays on it because it is sound, so that I appreciate is normal. I'm just running it without the sound for this bit. So I'm not a motor control specialist, but I do recognise that that is a motor control setup issue. Just from 20 years of DCC. And I guess I'm quite spoiled because the majority of locos I see are set up. It's very rare that I have to tune a factory fitted loco as this is. And just to say, that's the packaging there. It's Hornby Railroad. It's a TTS sound fitted loco. And obviously I appreciate if it was aftermarket fitted decoder, then setup issues are probably more, well, not acceptable, but you'd understand. But it's weird that a manufacturer hasn't programmed their own item that they have full control of. They do give you instructions though, which is nice. So also as a little bit of control, I'll put the sound on and just run it. This is on factory settings still. And a little digging on the internet tells me that this can be so much better. And that's my main point of this video. I'm not here to knock a manufacturer. This is a little hint that maybe your customers will appreciate it if factory fitted locos were set up. If this is your introduction to DCC, it's not a good one. And it shouldn't really be on the customer's shoulders to program a factory fitted loco. I appreciate programming one that you fit yourself is part of the course, because every motor and gearbox combination is going to be different. So with the loco is the TTS manual, and it does say A1, A3 class, so they've specified the manual for the model. In here are full descriptions of the main sort of variables. Now for a beginner, it's very much, you shouldn't need to know, and it does get a little bit technical jargony. So you've got motor control method, motor control algorithm descriptions. The algorithm is a non-linear curve which offers lower controlled speed in the low speed range. Okay, so I went on the internet and I found someone that had played with some values, and I recommend that to anyone. Okay, so I am going to change some of the configurable variables. Particularly when you're beginning, I recommend that you write everything you're doing down. The handy thing with this loco is when you do a reset, it clears all these values back to the factory settings. The unfortunate thing with this loco is when you do a reset, it clears all your setup back to factory settings, so keep notes. The reset for information is CV8 equals 8. And what I'm going to do is just quickly, using programming on main, I'm using the old length system here. You can do it on any system that has a programming track. or allows programming on main. So I'm just going to POM. CV150 I'm going to set to a value of 1, which apparently is algorithm 2. 150, value of 1, and enter. Right, and then in the manual it tells you to go and change CVs 153 and 154. But it doesn't tell you what values to change them to, so again, I've been on the internet and seen what other people have done. So 153, I'm going to go to 225 and send that. 154, I'm going to go to a value of 1. And apparently that's set up back EMF control and yeah. Changes the pulse wave modulation frequency, I think, but it's not really clear. Yeah, anyway, those are the values I was told. One value that I am more familiar with is CV3, and I'm going to increase that to 25. It was 15 from the factory. And CV3 is the acceleration delay on the loco, just to stop it going off like a scolded cat. Okay, so now, with those settings that we found on Tinternet, it's better. It is a cheap decoder. The TTS range were quite cheap, but it's not got that kick at the end, which was weird. I imagine if you spend more time fishing around those motor control values, you might be able to tune it better. But this is good enough for government work. Still a bit kicky at the end. Okay, so this is running on the factory settings. So okay, once it gets up to speed, it's in that low speed range that it's terrible. Now this is the running on the adjusted settings. A little kick at the bottom, but much better. Now, these are very economical chips, so expecting them to have the same fine motor control as a premium chip is, well, for the birds. But I think that's much more acceptable for what it is. So hopefully that's been helpful. I'm not here to knock Hornby, they've got their own struggles, to be honest. The TTS sound range I think is more or less all gone now. I think it has been replaced by the better HM7000. I think they've done much more work on that. But at the end of the day, if you've got them, you can get them to run a bit better. It's not going to be perfect, but any improvement is an improvement. There we are, really. So just for comparison, here is an expensive decoder with a fairly average gearbox. And just for contrast, a high quality mechanism with a high quality decoder. So With a precision engineered gearbox, then you can get the much slower speeds. But in reality, who spends their whole life driving a loco at this speed? So my only real criticism is that as this is a factory fitted decoder, that tuning could have been done by Hornby and you would have a happier customer. It wouldn't cost an awful lot to pre-program those settings. What it took me on a controller, it took me about 3 minutes to do. You know, if it was done in the factory, they'd probably preload the chip with that software. So yeah, that's my main gripe there.